Topics to be covered in this module. Selecting work equipment, personal protective equipment, safe uses of common equipment, inspection of work equipment, rescue harnesses. Selecting work equipment. As we have seen in the previous modules, the selection of work equipment will depend upon circumstances and the environment. Jobs which can be performed within a day and are relatively straightforward may only require a steady ladder and/or a personal harness. However, those tasks which run to several days and remain outdoors may need tower scaffolding or work platforms. Jobs at height, which involve fumes, painting, welding, etc., in an enclosed area, may also require breathing apparatus or other PPE, personal protective equipment. All these decisions should be made during the risk assessment, with plans in place for training and instructions beforehand, if required. Personal protective equipment. PPE is often visually associated with breathing apparatus or face masks, but the key words are personal and protective. Typically, when working at height, PPE would apply to such devices and pieces of equipment as personal harnesses, horizontal lifelines, fall restraint systems, safety helmets, protective gloves, safety glasses, non-slip footwear. It is important that PPE does not severely restrict a worker, but that it does keep them safe from harm and limit the possibility of injury. Safe uses of common equipment. Before using any kind of equipment whilst working at height, the user must be fully trained in the safe and appropriate use of it. The following tips are recommended with these common types of equipment. Mobile scaffold. A mobile scaffold or mobile access tower must be erected by personnel or contractors that are fully trained and competent. It must be constructed with the recommended materials and stabilized with outriggers. Outriggers are the triangular brackets that clamp onto the bottom of the tower. The wheels, or feet, of the constructed tower must be in full contact with a firm and stable surface, and it must be tested prior to full use. At no point should the tower be forced to exceed the weight or number of people recommended by the manufacturer. MEWP scissors. An MEWP, Mobile Elevating Work Platform, scissor, is a powered vertical lift which can be used for raising one or several workers to a significant height. It is known for being very stable and safe, with guardrails and a self-propelled system. The device comes in a variety of sizes and usually has emergency power buttons. Nonetheless, it should only be operated by those trained to do so, and appropriate emergency rescue plans should be considered prior to its use. The most important thing is that the weight specifications should never be exceeded, as doing this can cause catastrophic errors with the machinery. MEWP boom. An MEWP boom differs to that of a scissor lift in that the angled one-arm structure enables it to be moved in a three-dimensional way at height rather than just up and down. However, this greater maneuverability comes at the cost of stability, and there is a greater risk of falling due to sudden movements or unexpected impact. These are elements that should be considered during the risk assessment. Due to its relative instability, this equipment needs more space to operate than other types of ladder or lift. Like the MEWP scissor, it should only be used by those trained to do so and never exceed its safe working load. Podium steps. Podium steps combine the convenience of a stepladder with the stability of a platform. They offer low-level support with adjustable heights and sturdy guardrails. They can be folded or self-assembled depending on the model and can be safely used in corridors and office areas. The only real safety issues to bear in mind are that hinges and catches are locked in place prior to use. Tools and materials should be loaded onto the platform whilst at ground level. The gate should always be shut securely and locked before the work starts. Ladders and step ladders. Ladders are probably the most common form of equipment used for working at height, but they should still be treated like any other device and regularly examined for defects or risks. They should be used when working at height is of low risk and short duration and for rudimentary tasks. Nonetheless, a ladder should still only be used by those who are competent to do so and have had the appropriate training or experience. Before use, a ladder should have the following elements inspected. Feet. Are they worn, missing, or damaged? Stiles. Are they bent or rusty? Rungs. Are they misshapen or damaged? Locking mechanisms. Are they damaged or broken? Steps or treads. Are they loose, slippery, or missing? If any doubts remain about safety, an employee can refuse to use the ladder. Once in use, the user must follow these simple precautions listed below. Always place a ladder on a stable, non-movable surface. Only carry light materials. Lean it at a 75-degree angle. Do not work on the top rungs or overreach. Between your feet and hands, always maintain 3 points of contact with the ladder, 2 feet, 1 hand, etc. If you're using a ladder to reach another level or are concerned about stability, secure 2 stiles to a suitable anchor. Hop-up. A hop-up is a small, low-level platform that is mainly used for decorating or plastering. The only real issues to be careful of here are: always be conscious of the size of the platform. Don't overreach. Ensure that the legs are evenly planted on a firm and even surface. Trestles. Like the ladder, the trestle is another piece of equipment best used for short-duration jobs. A low-level platform is mostly used for decorating or ceiling work. Strong trestles made of aluminium and steel can be used in conjunction with raised scaffolding if desired and if it is deemed safe. The only real risk with trestles is the risk of falling from the platform edges. If guardrails are not installed, a valid reason for not doing so is required. Otherwise, these should be in place to protect the worker. Tubular scaffold. A familiar sight at any construction work, scaffold tubes can be constructed to provide sturdy support for pretty much any situation. However, it is important to follow these guidelines. Erection and dismantling of the scaffold must only be performed by qualified scaffolders. Safe access or an entry point must be made to the scaffolding. A ladder is acceptable as long as there are 3 rungs clear of the platform to provide an easy handhold. Gap-free guardrails and toe guards must be in place before work commences to prevent people or loose objects from falling. A reliable lifting system must be in place to transport materials whilst protecting workers from objects falling. Inspection of work equipment. As we have covered in this module, individual pieces of equipment should be visually inspected carefully prior to use when working at height. The most obvious things to look out for are damaged locking mechanisms, unstable bases or feet, rusty or worn hinges, bent or unstable handholds. These observations should be recorded, documented and updated on a regular basis, including any equipment replacements. Also, where platforms and scaffolding have been assembled, the following guidelines must be adhered to. A competent person must visually inspect assembled equipment prior to use. Equipment regularly exposed to outdoor or severe conditions must be periodically checked for deterioration. Records of previous checks and inspections must be validated and updated, especially when new equipment such as MEWPs are received. Summary. In this module, we have covered the following points. There are many varied types of equipment that you should consider for working at height. The forms of PPE that exist for height-related work are mostly restraints and safety gear. There are several types of mobile platforms that are best used in certain situations. The use of MEWPs and other machinery should be strictly regulated. Ladders and platforms need regular inspections as much as complex devices.